Cleveland Cliffs leaders say the Trump administration's tariffs have already led to higher volume commitments from automakers who rely on steel made from our Cliffs pellets. That's according to the president and CEO of Cleveland Cliffs, Lorenzo Gonsalves. During Cliffs' earning call today, you'll remember in March, Cliffs chose to idle both Hibtac and Hibbing and its Minora mine in Virginia, Minnesota, amid a recent drop in demand for steel. More than 600 workers were laid off. Gonsalves believes in order to get fully back on track and for Cliffs to make a profit, the American steel industry needs to stay cross-competitive, adding that includes continuing to make operational changes, such as idling those mines.
These idles were necessary to rebalance working capital needs and consume excess pellet inventory that we produced in 2024, responding to the weak demand that plagued us during the final months of the Biden administration.
Cliffs also idled 4 of its other facilities across the U.S., a move they expect will save the company $300 million this year. Still no word on how long those mines will stay idled. Meanwhile, Gonsalves also credited tariffs on foreign steel as the, quote, most relevant and necessary action to eliminate unfairly priced competition for an increase of earnings in April and May, but says there is still a long way to go. Still to come.